Okay, so I'm installing the new dashboard, and the new dashboard has the same problem. I don't know if it's a real problem, but it's just, this wants to flare out. See that? Okay. And I've been in other car shows, and I've paid attention to other C3s that were under construction, and some of them had this lower dash panel missing, and I've noticed that this same issue happens. Now, let me show you something that you'll find very interesting, I think. So this is the piece that sits underneath there, underneath the steering column, and it's cracked right there. And I've actually tried to glue it back together, and it finally just broke off on the other side. Now, I'll tell you, between my daughter and myself, we've owned this Corvette for 10 years, maybe a little more actually. And this, I'll show you what I think the problem is. So let me take it over to the workbench, because my wife came up with an idea that's a possible solution. I just knocked over one of my lights. But so I need to draw this in taut and not have it have a natural tendency to want to flare out. Because, let's go to the workbench and I'll show you. Okay, so this piece, it sits in there like this underneath the steering column. And this piece has to keep together the bottom side of your dashboard, which is fine. And I was going to buy a new one, but I thought, man, it seems like it could possibly happen again. Probably won't, but it could. This has been under some pressure over the years with the old dash probably, and anyways, caused the problem. So I was explaining this to my wife, who has done a lot of engineering work in her day, and I was showing her that the problem is, there's not much meat here. Like, after you drill the hole, it's a pretty thin wall, and that's where it always cracks, is right there. To hold all that back, there's not enough meat to grab onto it. And so I said, well, I guess I'll just buy a new one. And she's like, well, hang on, why don't you use some kind of a brace or a mending bracket? And so I think that's a great idea. If I put the mending brace on the inside, and I'll show this here in just a second, then the whole piece sits down, and aesthetically it won't look right because there'll be a void. It's, like this is your dash, it's supposed to sit there. Now you're making it down because you've put this piece of metal in it. So I said, hey, wait a minute. Nobody sees this surface. So I went to the Menard, or Menards, as people who are out of the know call it. And I found this mending plate. Am I showing it the right way? Yes. And it was at Menards, and it actually lines up with the holes. And now I'm thinking, it's got the strength and rigidity of this to hold the dash together. And I found these screws. Let me show those. Okay, so what I'm planning to do is that fits in there, and then I'll drill this hole out more, and then I'll have to drill into the dashboard to accept this bigger hole. I mean, a bigger hole to accept that, and then I'll put a washer back here too, actually, and screw that down nice and taut. However, I don't want this might be seen, so I'm going to primer and paint this, except for the one problem I have. It doesn't line up for this hole, which goes to, let me show you here, let's go take a look, which goes to that right there, which is your switch to where you can, when your headlights are on, they're in the open position. And then if you pull this down, like I'm attempting to with one hand, there you go. And now you can turn out your headlights, but your headlights will remain in the open position. So I like that feature. I want to keep that. I don't want to just tuck it up under the dash and call it a day. So I got to drill out for that. Okay, so if I line this bracket up, you can see the hole and the screw hole, which holds it in place, doesn't quite get it. So I'm going to have to hack around on this bar. And one tricky thing about drilling the hole right next to a hole is that you're creating a figure 8, and it tends to just want to slide into the other hole, and you know, that's it. So I'm gonna have to hack around on this bar, then file it smooth, and then primer it and paint it. So that's going to be what's next on the docket, is to get it. And I realized, I thought about, even I could just move this over. I could cut into the plastic piece here, the ABS. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Let me take a look at that, and that's going to be the next thing. And we do have a job supervisor on site today, so got to make sure the battery is disconnected before we're doing electrical work. No running around playing grab ass. Safety glasses. Chip, you keeping an eye on everything and everybody? All right, my man. Thanks for your help. All right. Here is the Squillio dealio. I've been messing with this bracket, mounting brace, if you're looking for one. And this hole is very close. So what I think I'm going to do is just mark this where it needs to be. And see if I can mark that smaller one. I think I can. And I'm probably going to have to use a brad point drill bit. And because the problem with a regular bit, if you're not familiar, this is a brad point, and it has a tendency to want to stay in one place. If I use just a regular drill bit, it'll want to slide over and not keep its spot, making it near impossible to make this out. They call that the figure 8. So anyway, that's what I'm going to do, is get this piece of metal modified. Okay, so now that I'm looking at this, I see I'm going to be so close to the edge here. I mean, I might as well just cut into this, but then I'm compromising so much of the strength. This actually has a top and a bottom. See, see the screw I'm using? It fits in here. And if I flip it around, let me try flipping around this way, or this way, and see if I can get something to fit a little bit more gooder. Okay, so after much back and forth, there's no way I can use this metal plate with, well, hang on, let me spit this out. I can use the metal plate, but by the time I'm done hacking around on it to get it to fit this situation, I mean, I'm going to compromise it so much that it's almost useless. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to hack on the plastic piece here, the dash, and I'm just going to move the switch over. I was looking at the car, and there's nothing that will prevent me from moving the switch over. So I'm going to leave the metal bar alone, and I'm going to drill this to move the switch over and forward just a little bit. Okay, so I've got my drill press all set up to drill that. Because it's precise, I did take the time to set up the drill press. I do have an optional handheld drill press, which looks something like this. That's my handheld drill press. We're going to use the actual drill press for this. All right. Figure 8. All right, and so now I'm just getting this drill press, not the handheld drill press, the actual drill press. I'm going to pop a hole for the screw, for the mounting screw. You've heard of Papa Smurf? Well, this is pop a hole. We're going to pop a hole. Raise the deck up a little bit. There we go. All right. Okay. All right. So this is screw hole. All right. Same deal. Screw hole. All right. So let me show what I've done thus far. I basically moved the switch or plug, whatever you want to call it, the toggle to keep your lights on, lights open, and its screw hole. I moved it over to match the metal bracket. And yes, this is getting very close to the edge, and I don't like that at all. So the mounting screw that holds it has a bright silver pan head, and I'm probably going to swap it out for a black one so that it hopefully disappears and is not too visible. All right. Okay, so I want to show you something. In my mind, I was just trying to do one final check before I start primering. And that, let me zoom in on it. And I did not bring my camera stand over here. So I'm doing this looking through my camera one-handed. Doesn't quite fit. So I am going to have to drill this hole. I'm glad I checked that now, as opposed to after it was primer and painted. So I'm gonna have to drill this hole out. All right, back to the workbench. Okay, so this should be a little easier. All I'm doing is drilling this to a bigger hole. And should. I should have clamped it. Should have clamped it. That was a splatter-ass moment there at the end. All my critics can have fun with that. Okay, well. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, I should have clamped a piece on there. I thought about it for a second, and then I was like, bah, let's keep going. I can't tell you how many construction projects or automotive projects I've done where I've thought about safety, and then I thought, nah, let's just keep going. And then a trip to the emergency room later, you go, yeah, you know. Yeah, anyway, sometimes if I'm in a hurry, safety always comes second or third, maybe fourth. Depends what I'm doing. Anyway. Okay, so I am going to... I've got that bigger hole in there. I'm going to file those edges and take those burrs off there so nobody or myself gets cut. You know, I was thinking about how I should have clamped it. Years ago, I worked in a shop that had routers and boring machines. CNC machines were just starting to become affordable and a thing, but until then, we used to clamp things and run routers over things to get edges and stuff, and we always used to say Jed clamp it. And so when we were clamping something down, we got to the point to where we never even said clamp it. We just yelled Jed at each other, as in Jed clamp it. All right, anyway, so I'm gonna smooth out these edges here. Okay, so now it fits, and so now I'm going to clean this up, and then I'll put some Dawn soap and maybe use some alcohol or something, and start primer and paint. All right, so now I'm out here on my mobile workbench, which is my old trailer that I still use, and I'm just gonna spray it down with some primer. And I won't make you watch me do this. All right, after that dries, I'll paint the other side, and then I'll paint it with a matte finish or dull finish black, so it kind of hopefully hides under the dashboard. You can see where I had to make the other hole a little bit bigger. All right, so we'll let that dry, and I'll keep on with the other side of primer and then paint. So I was getting ready to paint that bar flat black, and I forgot that I had this in with my paints. It's called Satan Midnight Blue, and it matches the dark blue from 1978 Corvette pretty well, in my opinion. So I was pretty happy that I still had a little bit of this left. So I'm going to use it on the bar. It's called Satan Midnight Blue by Rust-Oleum. Okay, so it's now the next day, and this is the bar after primer and paint, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. This could have been a little smoother, but it definitely doesn't have any sharp edges. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. And just as an FYE, if it helps the audience, we talked about even using a longer bar that puts the holes out, farther. It would have to be a secondary hole. So in other words, you got this, and that ties in, and then the bar, say, extends out to here, then you have another hole into your dash. But I looked at the dashboard. There's not much meat here. But on the dashboard, on the receiving side of the dashboard, there's actually a lot more than this. So I think the actual dashboard is fine. I think the problem is really just limited to this. So that's why I went with the shorter bar. But, if you're looking at your actual dashboard and it's this same thing, then you could get the bar a little longer with a secondary hole. But at what point do you say, hey, this is a good solution, and you stop? If you go too much further, are you just being ridiculous? So anyway, this is what I landed on. And, also, I just wanted to point out, as an additional option, this is the, this bar was connected, and I cut it with a hacksaw, if you've seen my previous video, because it's just for shipping and to give it strength while you're messing around with it. But you could actually put a bar even behind here. So if my bottom dash was not, my bottom dash piece, this wasn't already broken and it was still good, or if I had a new one, I'd probably just put a bar like right here and go across to the other side just to help hold this bottom half of the dash together. But because mine's broken on both pieces, on both sides, I don't feel like that's really an option for me, but I'm just pointing that out for the audience, that where my finger is, you could put a bar there. Just spitballing ideas if you're in the same situation that I am. Maybe that helps. I don't know. Okay, so I thought I'd stop for just a minute and show on the back of my old dash. So I was saying that there's not much, I said meat, but I mean like sidewall from this hole to the edge, and they crack. And I found this is a fairly common problem, common-ish. But on the dash, there's a lot more. See that? There's a lot more plastic there, a lot more sidewall, and it's thicker there. So that's why I think it doesn't really need a longer bracket. I was trying to talk about this earlier, and I rewatched the video, and I was like, I wasn't communicating that very well. So I had my old dash up here, and instead of crawling around under my new, I thought, well, I'll just show where I don't think it's the dash. That I've never seen that have a problem. It's just this lower plate. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Now I need to get back to the project here. Okay, gang, so I've decided to go in another direction. Just keeping this video honest. And the reason why is because I don't like the way this old one sits in here. It's a little bowed, and I think I'm going to have to buy a new one. The color doesn't match real well. It's okay for underneath here. I've painted this in the past, long ago, and you should have seen it before. It was bad. They're about $110, $112 plus shipping for a new one. So I think I am going to get a new one day, but until then I'm going to use this old one. It allows me to move forward. So I don't want to mess around too much more. It just doesn't sit flat in there like it should, and I've tried to straighten it out. So I think what I'm going to do is just mount this bracket behind here, bringing it together, and then just leaving it. And then when I get my new one day, I'll just take this one off and put the new one in, and I won't have to mess about with any bracket or anything. So I took a long time to get here, but this is what I'm finally going to do. Let me get my camera stand and I'll go through this process. Okay, so I'm going to be drilling a new hole, and I don't like drilling. I'm trying to make sure my camera stands so the audience can see this. Oh gosh. Yeah. Well, it's not easy to make these videos sometimes. Okay, but I've got 2 holes to accept that bracket. We'll get that bracket in there and we'll take a look at it. Okay, let's see if I can do this without knocking over my camera. So for this, I'm putting the washer and the nut behind here, and I'm going to be running this in through there like this. Oh, I keep dropping everything. Okay. And where is it? I might need to get my... There it goes. Okay. Now, we put the washer and the nut on the back there. Zoom in on that. There we go. Try not to show the back of my hand. All right. And it's storming. There. All right, and that countersinks itself in. The screw does. All right, so that's got that. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is mount the switch to keep the headlights open, so that you can turn your headlights off and they'll remain in the open position. So I'm going to install that right now. Okay, just like that. And I hope I'm not just showing the back of my hand. This is tricky to film. All right. That. There we go. All right, switch is back in place. You can see that. All right, perfect. Okay, so I've got the driver's side screw in, and I'm going to show putting the passenger side in, and we want it something just like that. Get this out just a little bit, and right there like that. All right, get lined up in the center there. Okay. Actually, that needs just a... Okay. And next, put the screw in there. Okay. Get it all. There we go. Okay. And, all right. Okay, so basically that's it. There's the switch for the headlights to stay up, and that's it. That was the adjustment that I came up with. So I did a little back and forth and finally landed on something completely different than what I started with. I could go back and edit this video and make it seem like that was my idea all along. But I keep them honest, and sometimes that's the way ideas develop and just the way it goes. But that's it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoy me keeping my videos honest. I know they're longer, and I do apologize for that. But I do have a good time with it. But yeah, my motivation is I hope it helps others. Nobody's paying me to do it. It's just a hobby that I've had for a very long time, and with YouTube coming around, I thought, well, maybe we can share the joy, share the knowledge, and I learn from other people, and blah, blah, blah. So thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day. Much appreciated.